I've dabbled in tactics games, and as a major Gears fan, I was keenly interested in checking out Gears Tactics. I went hands-on with the turn-based tactics game for about 3 hours, and if the laptop I was playing on wasn't taken away from me, I'd probably still be playing. Gears Tactics is shaping up to be an engaging new way to play in the Gears universe.
Heads up, we're coming!
Gears Tactics follows 3 new characters in events that happened 12 years prior to the start of Marcus Phoenix's story. It's hard to say how important these characters will feel against the mainline Gears stars, but with the Gears Tactics protagonist's last name being Diaz, there's exciting potential for us to see him tied to Gears 5's Kate. His story starts with him defending a motor pool before he's quickly forced into finding allies to take on a menacing Locust mastermind who's creating monstrosities that are causing quite the mess of chaos for the COG. Gears Tactics' gameplay is not simple, and that's just the way I like it. There are a lot of systems at play that are understandable for sure, but even in the first few missions, I knew that tactics in Gears Tactics' name wasn't just for show. I was pleased with how much I felt like I needed to learn strategically when I first jumped in. Gears Tactics unsurprisingly shares a lot with XCOM. Each unit gets a set number of actions per turn. Every character is assigned a class with its own set of abilities with cooldowns, there are lots of weapon and skill upgrades, and plenty of stressful situations where a single hit chance can make or break an entire strategy. Gears Tactics shares other important mechanics and abilities with XCOM 2, some of which are a perfect fit for a Gears game. The shield icon showing cover and eye icon that showed whether or not my character was in enemy sights were hugely helpful, especially when it came to playing against an important ability, Overwatch. This ability allows units to monitor an area and shoot anything that comes in range so long as there are still bullets in their gun. There are tools to stagger enemies out of Overwatch, but since those tools also go on cooldown, I was usually forced to get creative, or counter their Overwatch with 1 or 2 of my own. But for all the XCOM in Gears Tactics, it's certainly not just a Gears-themed reskin.
Let me show you out.
For one thing, Gears Tactics moves faster with each unit having 3 action points per move instead of 2. This was a noticeable difference. There's also no grid system for movement, which felt right for a Gears game. Another big difference from the unrepentantly lethal XCOM games is that whenever an enemy takes enough damage, they'll fall to the ground and stay in a down state. This opens the opportunity for any one of your characters within range to perform a glorious execution kill, which gives every ally an additional action point regardless of whether or not they had spent any during the turn, effectively turning bad guys into power-ups.
Anyone else?
Emergence holes are another familiar gameplay mechanic in Gears that made it into Gears Tactics. Closing it with a grenade is business as usual, but taking out the numerous enemies that can spawn from it is a different matter entirely. For instance, several fast wretches can make a fight against the larger drone enemies exponentially more difficult if you don't have a character with a lot of ammo who can easily deal with them. And if you fail to close the emergence hole, more locusts can spawn. After I got to a certain point in the campaign, I jumped ahead to a big boss fight that I was not quite prepared for. Before the fight began, I took a peek at higher level characters with mods and other customizations unlocked. The character builds seemed to scale well in complexity and certainly helped to define character roles. For instance, as a Vanguard, Sid's Retro Lancer was decked out with mods that increased his critical damage and base damage. Then, on to the boss. Much like mainline Gears games, special equipment allowed me to deal heavy damage to the massive Corpser boss I was pit against, but that equipment, new enemies I was unfamiliar with, and the boss also did some heavy damage to my team. When my units inevitably dropped, they go down before actually dying just like Locust, I was able to pick them up but at a cost. If your character goes down, they lose a chunk of their health for the remaining battle. This felt like a fair way to let me keep playing with appropriate punishment for my mistakes. If one of the protagonists is killed in a mission though, you'll have to start over. The randomly generated recruited characters are less lucky and are gone for good if they die. I wasn't able to defeat the Corpser in the end, but I'm confident I'll have a solid strategy for the next time we meet when Gears Tactics is out on April 28th. For more on Gears Tactics, be sure to check out the announcement trailer, and for everything else, keep it on IGN.